Hello, welcome to Mary's Economics. This is the third and final video in a series of me sitting in a car banging on about poverty and housing. So I'm focusing on the private rental market. There's a lot more to say about the injustices of other aspects of the housing market and the housing system in the UK. But just focusing on the situation for renters. I've done one video focusing on local housing allowance, which I would encourage you to go and watch if you haven't already before you watch the rest of this one. Then I did a video about the bedroom tax, and what both those videos together do is explain how somebody on a low income who is turning to the government for help with their housing costs is going to be facing shortfalls, and they're going to be having big gaps between what they're entitled to receive in terms of help towards their rent and what they are legally required to pay in terms of their actual rent. So who benefits from this? People are really struggling. There are desperate housing shortages. People are being forced into deep poverty and destitution by the gap between the help they can get towards their housing costs and their actual housing costs. And the only reason for, unfair and ineffective systems to be maintained is that they are benefiting somebody. So this video is about who is benefiting from that situation. Now, I've been disappointed to hear some nitpicking about terminology when some campaigners or commentators have said billions of pounds of public money is going directly to private landlords in the form of housing benefit. And the nitpicking being, no, it's not. It gets paid to tenants, gets paid to people claiming the benefits, and then they pass it on to the landlords. So it's not being paid directly to landlords. Oh, please. Obviously, money that claimants are asking for towards their rent ends up getting paid to the landlord, and not only that money, but their own top up most of the time, because as I've said, there's a gap that they have to make up themselves. So I'm going to share with you some figures from the Equality Trust. Their 2025 report, Billionaire Britain, looks at the number of billionaires in the UK and how that has increased over time. And it is also looking at how many of those billionaires are benefiting from property investments. Now, we don't know how many of them are billionaires because of housing benefit. And, that's not really what I'm saying. It's just that it's a pattern worth looking at, I think you'll agree. Just pop my glasses on so I can read these figures to you. So in 1990, 2 of the UK's billionaires drew wealth from property holdings. By 2005, that had risen to 15. So in 2005, there were, I think, 64 billionaires, and 15 of them were drawing some or all of their wealth from property. And by 2025, we had 156 billionaires, and 42 of them were drawing some or all of their wealth from property and inheritance. Okay. 1 in 4 billionaires are now drawing wealth from property and inheritance. So what you've got is a massive funneling of money, because ever since the government deregulated private sector rents, but landlords have been able to charge whatever they like, and governments, in order to manage their exploding housing benefits bill, have reduced the amount of help that they'll give to people on low incomes towards their rents. But who's winning? Well, the rich are still winning, right? I'm not saying all landlords are rich, and I'm not saying all landlords are terrible. I myself have benefited enormously from kind people with emotional investment as well as financial investment in the communities where they manage properties, and they manage them well and they look after their tenants. Big shout out to Ralph and Holly, who I have relied on over the years. So look, a lot of landlords don't charge extortionate rents, and they will respond when you say you have a problem. But we all know that there is a massive issue around the UK with landlords who don't. So I work with a group of people on low incomes. We meet every week, and in last week's meeting, we were hearing about how finally, a couple in our group has been able to get their letting agent and their landlord to visit their property and look at the toilet that has been leaking for over 6 months, and the broken beds that are causing them and their children to have backaches, and the cooker that doesn't work properly, causing meals to take forever. It's not fair. And, you know, there's no sign of this landlord responding and doing anything about it anytime soon. He said a lot of stuff that blamed the tenants effectively. And they're just, how do they keep getting away with it? Well, the thing is, they are short on other options. There isn't really anywhere else that they can go. And with a desperate shortage of decent, affordable housing, a lot of people are not living in decent, affordable housing. They're living in terrible housing that they can't afford. And the New Economics Foundation produced a report, which I will also link to, comparing the billions of pounds that the government is indirectly giving to private sector landlords with the amount that they are promising to spend on actually creating affordable housing. And that's what really needs to be happening here. So, you know, this isn't a joke, and a lot of people are in terrible housing situations, and the market absolutely needs to be sorted out. It's just one aspect of life making things very, very difficult for people on low incomes. Tax, wealth, not work. Thanks for watching.